hello to our at-home audience and hello to those here in the Nutrition Theater. My name is Jackie Carlin. I'm the Community Education Director here at the Center for Health and Wellbeing. Welcome everybody to Food is Medicine, the Well Woman Diet, presented by Allison Harrell and Dr. Laura Verich. So we are very excited to get started. A couple quick housekeeping items. Make sure our cell phones are on silent. Doesn't affect the people home as much, but for you folks at home, make sure your phones or your cameras are on mute so that we don't hear you picking up in here. So this is one of our unique programs that we do it both at home and in person at the same time. So we encourage our at-home audience to use the chat box to put your questions in there throughout the program. And same thing for you ladies here in the Nutrition Theater. If you've got questions throughout, this is a conversation amongst friends. It's casual. You know, if you have the moment, you can ask it at that time or save your questions up. So we want this to be as interactive as possible. And it's the ladies' house on the International Day of the Women. So happy International Day of the Women to everybody here.
Another thing, it's National Dietitians Day. Hello.
Right in here today. So
those coincide.
I know. It's National Nutrition Month. March is a great.
Somebody was planning these things. But Allison is going to make a really great menu, and I'm going to let her tell you about that in a second. But before we get started, I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about our guest today. So first, we have Allison Harrell, a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and a plant-based chef who's been passionate about food for more than 20 years. She advanced her knowledge by becoming a certified culinary medicine specialist. And what that means in real terms is she knows a lot about everything, and I never not learned something very valuable from Allison. So she's wonderful, and she's got her card there for you guys. And for those at home, I'll be dropping a link to her newsletter as well. So Allison is a really fun person to follow on social media as well. So she's always doing lots of great TikToks and all sorts of stuff. So you will learn a lot and sign up for her newsletters. We also have Laura Verich, MD. Laura is a recent presenter here at the Center for Health and Wellbeing. She did her first presentation a couple weeks ago, and she's got one coming up about how to health up any meal. So we're super excited to have her. She is the founder of Fresh Physician. Did you know that was a tongue tire when you started? It's just me.
That would be funny. Yeah, that's how I did it.
I have done this every time I've introduced her. Freshphysician.com. I'm going to get there eventually. So it grew out of a desire to turn back the tide of chronic diseases such as weight gain, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, depression, all those things that are really plaguing our society today. Dr. Verich's in-depth research with medical literature revealed there's hope for improved health for all of us. So she will tell you more about her experiences, and she's really got a fascinating backstory as well. So we're so thrilled to have her as part of the team here. And one last thing, those of you both in the room and at home will receive a survey after this program. Please complete that survey. It helps me so much. It helps Allison and I pick which topic she'll be covering next. Let's say there's a type of food you've always wanted to learn how to cook, a specific ingredient, or a disease that you'd like to cook for. Those are things that we really take. And just, anything else here at the center that we can do to help you on your health and well-being journey. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to let you two get started.
All right. So today I'm going to first go over what we're going to be cooking so that Dr. Verich.
No, go ahead. Dr. Laura is
Dr. Laura
good.
can talk to you about the Well Women diet and how to support us as females. Today, we are going to be doing a plant-based burger. I'm going to be using 3 different types of beans. And the reason why I'm choosing a plant-based burger is I really want to bulk up the fiber and phytonutrients from plants into our diet. So I'll be doing the plant-based burger. We're also going to be doing the sweet and savory cauliflower salad. This got raving reviews the last time I did it. Hello. And so I thought I'd bring that instead of having like a starchy vegetable on the side of your burger. We're going to do a cruciferous vegetable. And we will be doing a dessert, which is going to incorporate some fruit and also healthy fats. And I'm going to be making a chocolate mousse out of avocado. So it's very tasty. And so I look forward to that. So I'm going to get started because I need to put the cauliflower in the oven, and I just preheated it to 400, and I'm going to roast the cauliflower first, and I'm going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil onto it. And I also like to use avocado oil spray or olive oil spray because it makes me not use as much oil. So I will use a little bit of olive oil and then some spray. When I'm home roasting my veggies, I just use this and spray it. So, and while I'm doing that, you can get started and talk with whatever you want to talk about.
Okay, great. Well, Yeah, I think as Jackie mentioned, just a quick background on my story. So I have actually been a pediatric radiologist for my whole career. I was at Stanford in California for the first half of that, and then I was here at Advent Health for half of that. And the reason that I'm here talking about nutrition now is because I was really noticing in the last 10 years or so, at the time that I've been here in Central Florida, just within the same group of kids, how much worse kids' health has gotten. Diseases we didn't see in kids that we see all the time now. I know you guys know about diabetes, kids having diabetes now, type 2 diabetes, kids having, of course, a lot of obesity and kidney disease and all these things. For me, it was inflammatory bowel disease is what really set my mind going, because I have a lot of that in my family. We have a lot of members with inflammatory bowel disease, things like Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. These are really tough diseases. And we're starting to see kids 6 years of age, 7 years of age with these diseases that are going to, affect them for their whole life. And so I thought, okay, there's something really wrong happening here. What is that something? And, as a physician who doesn't train in nutrition, right? We didn't back in the day. It was a big surprise to me when I just really dug into the research and saw that, wow, it's our food. It really is our food. It's our lifestyle. There's other factors too. We have stress. We've got lots of things in our environment that maybe aren't helpful for us, but the food is number one. The food is what's causing us to have the health issues, whether we're adults and now that we're kids, even our kids are having it. So that's what kind of got me going this route. And then I got my certificate in lifestyle medicine. And so I could just get out and educate about lifestyle medicine and how we can really turn around disease and prevent disease by what we do in our lifestyle, particularly with our diet. So anyway, that's what brings me here. And I guess I wanted to, Allison gave me a list of her recipes here, and I haven't tried. Well, I've tried the chocolate mousse with the fruit before. I love that. Haven't tried the other recipes yet, but it's really fun to look through these. They sound like they're going to be great. Oh, that's okay. You setting your timer?
Yeah.
So she was talking about the fact that we're going to be using some legumes here in the diet. In the recipe. Do people use a lot of legumes? And the word legumes, okay. The word legumes is, it basically refers to all those dried beans. They're the dried seed of a legume plant, it could be a lentil, it could be a chickpea, it could be a bean, or it could be a pea. But the dried kind, we're not talking about like the fresh peas that you would find in the grocery store, or the pod peas. It's different when it's the dried bean of those plants. So for many reasons, those actually turn out to probably be the number one food for our health. Legumes, number one food for our health. They are great at preventing disease, and also they're great for longevity. So if we can, we would love to get more beans in our diet. And we're going to talk about at the end why having a variety is really good. I'm going to end with a challenge for you guys at the end, but why variety is really good. So I love the fact that this recipe has 3 different types of legumes in there. That's really great. And they all have sort of different values to them. Like this one, because it's a black bean, has a lot of phytonutrients that some of the others don't have. So the mixture really makes it nice.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I just wanted to point out, we started talking about this when some of you were coming in. You can buy canned beans. I always rinse them off just to get the extra sodium off of it, because sometimes we don't have time to make beans from scratch out of the bag, even though it tastes absolutely delicious when you do take the time to do it. And I wanted to show you what different lentils would look like in bags. And I like these True Roots because it's a quick cooking bean, and it doesn't take as long as some of the typical bags of lentils.
It's so quick too, because
Why?
it's sprouted already. If they're sprouted, they take a lot less time, and they're a lot better for us. So if you can find a sprouted one, I use this one too. That's why it takes less time. It's amazing.
Yeah, I love
awesome.
It. I love it.
Allison and Doc, can you hold those under the camera there? Because our at-home audience, right under the hood there, under the.
Okay.
Kind of
Right
flip it up.
this.
And somebody also wanted to see the avocado oil that you showed a moment ago. So
I didn't have avocado oil. I just ran out, but I use, this is olive oil spray, but you can find avocado oil in your grocery store. It's on the top shelf near.
We have some here. If you
oil
needed some, Allison, sorry.
Not in a spray though. But,
not in a spray, but there's the
But this is avocado oil that you can use. The reason why I like avocado oil is because it has a high smoke point, and you can cook it at higher temperatures, like up to 400 degrees. So olive oil you still can use for what I'm doing today. It's totally fine. But I like the avocado oil. I buy mine from Thrive Market because it's cheaper. And I just ran out and I'm like, darn it.
And it's so popular now that you can even get it at your big box stores. I get mine at
Yes.
Costco. So I get the double thing of the avocado oil spray, the
Yes.
double package. And like she said, the smoke point is important because it has the highest smoke point. So you can take it to a really high temperature when you're cooking without it causing smoke. And the problem when an oil smokes is actually that it's making carcinogens, things that cause cancer, and that's getting in the air and it's in your food. So we really want to be careful about cooking with oils that can take high heat if we're going to be cooking at high heat. So what I usually recommend, and I think Allison, I think she does the same thing too, is for low heat cooking and for things like dressings, I use olive oil because we know it's a super healthy oil, right? We've seen in the Mediterranean diet, and it's been shown over and over again that olive oil is very healthy for us. But if I'm going to cook something, especially if I'm going to get up to somewhere around 400 degrees or above that, I will definitely use avocado oil as my oil of choice. So like if I was going to roast a vegetable, usually you do that at high heat, I'm going to use avocado oil. So I don't take a chance of there being that smoke happening with the food.
Yes. And I poured out the liquid that comes from the black beans and the chickpeas just to show you what it looks like. And you can use that as a substitute for eggs when you're making like baking or something like that. So for the black beans, I would use it in a brownie recipe because it's darker. And then the chickpeas, you can use that in baking in place of an egg. So that's if you're home and you don't have eggs or you can't afford eggs right now, and you have some chickpeas or black beans, you can use that as a substitute as well.
Yeah, so, you would be surprised to see. Have you ever heard the term aquafaba? Okay, so usually that comes from the can of the chickpeas. Usually I think it's the one that works best. But you can whip that up and make something that looks just like a meringue. I mean, it whips up really stiff like a meringue. You could use it instead of meringue. So you can use it, instead of eggs. It's a really cool thing to do. Who knew, right? Who knew that you could use your chickpea juice for that? But yeah, you can use that in your recipes. You do have to, like Allison particularly picked out some cans, and these are really great. They are cans that are low sodium already. So they have this Publix Greenwise brand has a low sodium in almost all the different kinds of legumes that you'll want. We were talking about how it's hard to find the lentils in a can, but in the international section, Goya has some, and we were looking at the sodium, and the sodium doesn't look super high. So
right.
They're not low sodium particularly, but they don't look too high in sodium. So that's easy way to get some beans in your diet and keep getting that. We know how healthy, right? We just learned how healthy they are for us. So it's just an easy way to get them in without having to spend an hour cooking them.
And the beans are so important because it's got a lot of fiber in it and a lot of protein as well, plant-based protein. So really the goal is to get 30 different plants in our diet in a week. So you have to be really intentional and not eat the same thing every single day. So having that's why I chose the 3 different beans in this recipe so that we can have a variety of different plant-based proteins into our diet.
Yeah. So that's going to be the challenge for you guys. So is going to be to think about how to get 30 different plant foods in your diet every week, in your meals. And you're going to see, I think we're going to add up today what we've got. We probably have 30 in the meal today.
Probably.
Right? So once you start thinking about it, it's a super fun game to play. But once you start thinking about it, it's actually pretty easy to do. It just means mixing it up a little bit, right? You're not going to just have the same thing every day.
Yeah.
You need to blend. So I'm going to let you do
I'm going to blend. It's going to be a little bit of time, but so can you talk over at all? Or does anyone have any questions while I'm blending this up? I put in here mushrooms that I've sauteed. And the mushrooms have an umami flavor. So that's going to give it more of like a meatier flavor. And I added some oats. I like using oats because it's soluble fiber, another way to add in some more plants instead of using like a panko breading and stuff like that. So I love adding the oats to it. This is the brand that I chose. I got that at Publix.
Yeah, I like that brand.
Yes. I believe it's 1 egg is 3 tablespoons.
I
Is
think
that
that's
right?
right.
1 egg is 3 tablespoons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody
And-
in the chat box was sharing where they found some things. People said they've got avocado oil at Trader Joe's.
Perfect.
And then somebody said they found organic lentils in a can at Walmart. So,
Really?
yeah.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
You can also use flaxseed as a replacement for egg as well. So that's something good to have in your pantry, but you want to make sure that you get the flaxseed that's ground. I made the mistake and actually bought it not ground, and your body just doesn't digest it. It just goes right through you. So it's like, what's the point? But then I have to grind it in order to get the nutritional benefits of it. So get it ground. You could put that in your smoothies on top of oatmeal, on like a parfait, but then you can also use it as an egg replacement. It depends on the brand, but usually like 1-to-1. But you look on the bag of the milled flaxseed and it'll tell you. Publix.
That Publix has
Mhm.
that.
Top shelf.
Top shelf.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, if
funny
you
how we
spend
know
some
exactly
time in
where
I
everything
know.
is.
If you spend some time in the legume aisle, you're going to find
Yeah,
some cool stuff. in there.
Exactly.
Yeah, the top shelf. A lot of the stuff we're going to talk about is not going to be on the top shelf, right? It's not like the usual stuff
Right,
that's
exactly.
most commonly used. So
All
yeah.
the processed stuff is in the middle at eye level because that's where they have the most profit. So you're looking at eye level most of the processed stuff. So the better for you stuff is up high. I'm going to be putting some beets in it. This is a huge beet. I ran the beets at my house looked kind of wimpy, and I wanted to show you how beautiful it can be with the greens and stuff. And you can actually saute the greens and eat the greens as well. Use the whole part of the beet. And on the way here, I went to Publix because I wanted to show you it in its raw form, and these are ginormous. So I didn't use this big. I probably would use half in this recipe. I always have these on hand, beets in a bag. I had just gotten these delivered from Thrive Market. So I used one of these beets. If you're going to cook a beet, what I like to do is put my oven about 350, 375, wrap it in some aluminum foil, and then put it in there for about 45 minutes. And it makes it so much easier to get that outer shell or outer crust off of it, outer skin off of it. Beets are very messy and will stain your fingers. So wear gloves and just be mindful if you're preparing something on your cutting board, maybe do the beets last. So I pre-cut the beets so I didn't make the mess of this beautiful wooden cutting board here. And this will add some color to our burger as well. Yep, you do. You have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, bigger packages of them, even at somewhere like Costco, they'll sell a box with a bunch of the packages within it. So you can get, if you really love beets, which I do. So yeah, that makes it really convenient to not have to deal with the mess of the beets. Right.
And
yeah,
sometimes it's okay to have some convenience food. If it's going to make it on your plate faster and more frequently, I'm okay with having a little bit of convenience foods.
absolutely. Yeah, because this is not, if we're talking about processed foods, right, and how we're hearing about how bad processed foods are for us, right? This is a minimally, what we call a minimally processed food, right? Just like if you got a bag of already washed spinach, that's a minimally processed food. That is great for us. It's convenient. There is nothing at all wrong with that. And if we start to add a little bit of salt to it, that takes, it up a notch, but still that's a great food for us. We want to try to find the ones with less salt. But when we start getting in trouble is when we get those foods where you look at the label on the back and there's, 30 ingredients in there, right? And I think the main thing, for me, the main criteria for an ultra processed food, something you don't want to put in your body, is when you look at the ingredients, say all those ingredients were herbs and spices. That would be great, wouldn't it? But if all those ingredients or any of those ingredients are chemicals you would never ever find in your own kitchen, that is a food you don't want to eat, because like whatever that red dye was that turned out to be so bad for us, and trans fats that we thought were better than the things we had, naturally, those things turn out to be terrible for us, but we don't find out till down the line. And there are a bunch of those ingredients in those foods now that we know are terrible for us. So avoid those foods with the long list where you don't know what those ingredients are.
Right,
Okay.
like the Beyond Burger and Impossible Burger.
Yeah. Those two. Oh, you were showing the.
I'm showing that I'm
Well.
adding some miso paste, and this is made from fermented soybeans. So this has a lot of good health benefits, and we'll talk more about that after I blend it. But I wanted to show you how pretty all these beautiful colors from all the herbs and spices are. I've got some cornstarch, smoked paprika, salt, pepper, nutritional yeast. Has anyone heard of nutritional yeast? This is something that's great to get vitamin B12. So if you're a vegan or vegetarian, a lot of times you're deficient in B12, this will get you some B12. And I've got some parsley, rosemary, and a little bit of red pepper added in there. And I'm going to put this in my blender. So if you want to talk about the... Oh, go for it.
Because I get to use the brown ones, but I see the red ones.
It depends on the recipe and like what you're using it for.
Yeah, the red ones really break down pretty quickly, right, Allison? So they're a lot of times used for things where you need a really soft texture, whereas the brown are sort of intermediate. If you get the black, they stay more firm. So it just really depends the recipe, but yeah, get a mixture of them. They're all really good.
And you could make them and then freeze them. So I'm all about convenience and batch cooking so that you don't have to get the kitchen dirty every time you eat a meal. So I make, whenever I mess my kitchen up, I'm making extra. So this recipe looks very like labor, that has a lot of labor to it. You know, there's a lot of ingredients, but I always make extra and freeze some in my freezer so that on days that I'm busy and I don't feel like cooking, boom, I've got something delicious to eat.
Yeah, so that works well for legumes, also for grains. You can do your grains that way too.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of us are hearing about the benefits of whole grains, right, in our diet. So if you're going to cook up you're going to cook up some whole grains, you might as well cook up a whole bunch, and then you can either freeze them in, just the portions that you would pull out. That's usually the best way to do it. What I do is, have you guys ever seen at a lot of the stores now, they'll in the freezer section, they'll have rice or something that you can buy, brown rice that's already cooked in a bag, right? But I do something similar in that I make a big batch of whatever grain it is, and then I put it out on a rimmed baking sheet. I spread it all out, and then I score it like so into squares, and then I put it in the freezer and I freeze it. And so you take it out, you just break those into squares, put them into a giant bag, and you have yourself a portion size whenever you want to have it. So that makes it really convenient because it takes, an hour to make a batch of grains, depending on what the grain is that you're making. So that can make it more convenient too. And do the same thing with your legumes if you want to.
And do you want to talk a little bit about the miso fermented soybeans? I'm just cleaning up so I can.
Sure. Yeah. Miso is really great food because it has the benefits of soy, which anybody have concerns about soy? People feeling concerned about soy. Okay.
That's the biggest concern I hear from people all the time.
Yeah. And it's really a problem because what happened is early on, some information got out into the medical literature that soy caused breast cancer. You guys have probably heard that, right? That was study done in mice. That never, ever transmitted to humans when we or transitioned to human research. And human research has been shown over and over and over again. There have been what we call meta-analysis. It takes a look at all the different research studies that have been done and combines them all together. There's been meta-analyses of meta-analyses on soy showing over and over again that it's preventative for breast cancer. It's preventative. It turns out that soy, the estrogen, the phytoestrogen means plant estrogen, it acts differently in our body than does our own estrogen. So we know that estrogen in our body, estrogen levels are high, right? If we take exogenous estrogens, we can make the levels of the estrogen in our body higher, and it can cause breast cancer, right? Well, it turns out the plant estrogens, it actually blocks the receptor. It binds to a different estrogen receptor than does the animal-based estrogens, and it actually blocks the effect. So we actually lower our risk of breast cancer. significantly lower our risk of breast cancer if we eat soy foods. And this is this is one that I remember because it is so amazing to me, is even if you already have the diagnosis of breast cancer, and it doesn't matter what type you have, if you add more soy foods to your diet, if you're eating more plant-based and you add a lot of soy foods to your diet, your rate of relapse. So you would have a 50% chance of just eating a Western diet of not having recurrence of your cancer. So 50% of people are still going to have a recurrence just across the board if you eat the Western diet. If you eat a plant-centered diet that has a lot of soy food in it, you have a 90% chance of surviving versus 50%. It's huge. It's a huge difference. So women and men, soy is great. And there was also, you may have heard about soy causing man boobs in men. Men worry about this, right? They worry about the whole man boob thing. That was also just a kind of a one-off story that has never really shown to be true at all. And actually, soy foods are really good for men too. It's great in preventing prostate cancer. It's really good against the hormonally related cancers, ovarian cancer and breast cancer and prostate cancer and those sorts of cancers. So really, really good for us. Okay, so I went way off topic, right? I was talking about miso. So miso is a soy food. It's from fermented soybeans. So it has the benefits of fermentation, which is also really, really great for us. We're hearing about our microbiome and all the bacteria that are really important for us, right? So this is a fermented product, which is great. The thing that people get concerned about is the amount of salt that is in miso. But usually when we're using miso, we're using small amounts.
I used 1 teaspoon in this.
Yeah, and
so
it gives us a lot of that umami flavor, right? That we hear about, that gives us that satisfaction when we taste something. So it has a lot of great benefits to it. We just wouldn't want to like squirt this into our mouth or something. You could,
right.
You couldn't do it if you wanted to. It would be
right.
awful. So that's a picture of that.
And talk about like menopause and perimenopause. I get a lot of questions about soy and helping with those symptoms and things like that. So
There's been a lot of recent research showing that there was a study published, I think it was just a year or two ago, showing that if we went for women who are going into menopause or in menopause, if we go from having the regular Western diet to a diet that's more plant-centered, like we're having today, and it includes a lot of soy foods, we actually have a really significantly decreased incidence of having things like hot flashes. So the symptoms that go along with menopause really take a dive. I think it's 80% less of the significant symptoms of menopause we can get rid of by adding more soy food in our diet. And again, it's the phytoestrogens, right? So they're sort of blocking those effects that are happening in our body. So
I got it.
And also those people were not just adding soy onto a Western diet, they were really plant-centered diet too. So not eating a lot of animal products.
Okay, I pulled out our cauliflower and it's been in there for about 20 minutes, roasted. You see it's got caramelization on it. And I'm going to put this aside to let it cool a little bit while I make up the burgers and the sauce that's going to go on the cauliflower salad.
Allison, two procedure questions we've gotten so far.
Okay.
Someone was asking about using a food processor instead of a blender.
You probably would need to cut the recipe in half, depending on the size of your food processor, because it probably will overflow.
Okay.
So, and I wanted to point out too, it looks kind of like a meat mixture. And what I did is I used only half the lentils in the blender and then added the lentils at the end. So it kind of gives that look of meat, ground meat. And it's very soft. So if I were to put my hands in it to make burger patties, it would just like stick to my hands. So using an ice cream scooper or a big spoon is very helpful. And for the sake of time, I made these in advance to put in the oven for us so that I'm not taking time making all these burgers again. So where did you put it in the oven? Oh no, there it is. Okay. So here is the burgers that we're going to be putting in the oven. So what I didn't use parchment paper for this one because I really wanted it to crisp up underneath. So I sprayed it really good with some avocado or olive oil spray. And then I'm going to spray it over the top of it to give it, to make it crisp up a little bit. And I'm going to put this in the oven now. It's been preheated at 400 degrees, and I'm going to cook it at, on 10 minutes on each side.
Okay, and then I'm going to just quickly talk about this. So with the burgers, there's going to be an option. So you can either have something like a lettuce wrap, or you can have this whole grain bun as an option for your burger. And you guys are probably hearing a lot about whole grains, right? About eating whole grains. Are you guys at all confused about the whole grain thing? What confuses you? Yeah, what is a whole grain, right? What really is which? Yeah, exactly. Well, I knew that this literature was coming out because everybody's confused, right? So I knew that there was going to be something coming out. I've been keeping my eye on it. So the Harvard School of Medicine just put out a guideline for us, because people like all of us don't understand. We go in the store and everybody wants to get on the whole grain wagon, right? This is a whole grain product. And you're like, that's, I don't know, trick cereal. I don't know. Is that a whole grain thing? I don't
Right,
think so.
exactly.
So how do we know if it really is considered a whole grain, or if it really is a truly whole grain product without going through the list of ingredients? Because sometimes, again, the list, you'd have to look at every grain and say, does it say whole grain oats? And then does it say whole grain wheat? And then does it say whole grain? Every grain you'd have to look and make sure it says whole in front of it, right? That's a lot of work. But this is a really abbreviated way, is on every label, you have a listing of the total carbohydrate in a food, and you also have a list of the total fiber in a food. So a really easy way is you want to have that be a 10-to-1 ratio. So you want 1 gram of fiber for every 10 grams of carbohydrate that's in there. So why did they pick 1 to 10? That's the ratio that's in a whole grain. If you picked off a kernel of wheat, that would be the ratio that would be in that whole grain. So if we go 1 to 10, and so this is the easy math then for that. So say I'm looking at these buns, and this is a great brand. This is a brand I think all of us agreed we really like, is Dave's. And Dave's has, they have some really great products, and they're really taste so good. I love some of their breads. And this one says, so this one on the front says 21 whole grains and seeds. You think, okay, that's great. All right, but let's check it out. Okay. So the carbohydrate in here, total carbohydrate in one serving is, and that's probably for the whole bun, right? Yeah. So the total carbohydrate is 31 grams. So a really easy way to do that math is then to say, okay, 31. So let's divide that by 10. That's 3.1 grams. So it should have at least 3.1 grams of fiber in it, right? So take the carbs, divide that by 10, and it should have at least that amount of fiber in it. So how does Dave's do? 4 grams of fiber. So good. So they probably even added something like a bran or something in there to get the fiber content up a little bit more. So that's great. So that's a really easy way. So I love that there was an answer to that, because I think everybody's confused right now. So
Totally.
Also, what makes a grain a whole grain? Like, what's a whole grain versus a what? What's the other one? A what? A grain. Just like they call it a refined grain, right? We start taking out sort of the nutritional part of that. And why would we do such a thing to a grain? Why would we do such? Poor grain, right? But the reason that it's done is to make it more shelf stable. So we take a grain. Now, whole grain has, on the outside, it has the fiber. And then a layer that's kind of just inside of that is the germ part. And those 2 layers actually have some of the healthy fats in them and have a lot of the nutrients in them. Well, those things go bad if we let them sit out. Those are the things that are going to spoil. If we take all that off and we're left with the pure carbohydrate, that doesn't spoil. So we can just stick that on our shelf. There probably no bug's going to eat that. I don't know. There's not much left there. The pure carbohydrate, that's what's going to last. So we take that and we put it into some of their food, and we can have like a Twinkie that can sit on the shelf for 20 years. So that's how it's happening. Yeah, it really was to make sure we had food security, right? Because the wars and everything, and we knew we were worried about whether there be enough food for people. So it was a way to make sure that we had security in our food supply, that we had stuff that was, that could sit and then be ready to eat if we ran into trouble. But, the unintended consequence of that is that now those kind of foods are the majority of what we eat, right? The majority of the food that we eat is made from things like that, where we've stripped away the good stuff and we've left the sort of pure carbohydrate or pure fat, and then tried to combine those into a food-like substance, right? And that's those ultra-processed foods we were talking about.
Right.
So
And then I love how it has the seeds and stuff and like some oatmeal on top of it as well. Dave's also makes a burger it's white done right. So it has whole grains in it. But if you have picky kids like I do, that passes the picky kid test.
They won't notice. Yeah, they notice when there's
They
stuff on
notice
the
that.
top.
Like,
They're
what's that on
"Oh."
top?
They don't like that. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm making the sauce for the cauliflower salad, and I wanted to point out a couple things to you. So this is a nub of my ginger root that I have used. The recipe calls to grate the ginger. I didn't read the recipe when I was prepping for this in advance. Hello, that's like 101 what you should do. So, but I also want to show that you can make adaptations. Say you don't have a grater at home, or you don't want to get your fingers all bloody trying to grate the garlic. You can mince it up. So what I did was mince up the garlic really well. And, sometimes people think that they got to peel the garlic with a veggie peeler. There's an easier and better way. You can just take a spoon and get the skin off that way. It's easier on your fingers and you don't waste so much of the flesh of it. So use a spoon when you're doing that. And then in this, so far, I've added the ginger and the garlic, and it calls for soy sauce. I'm using Tamari Light. This is a gluten-free alternative to soy. I like this because it has 50% less sodium. So in 1 teaspoon, it has 490 milligrams. When you look at the sodium in soy sauce, it's pretty high. So wherever I can find the least amount is what I'm going to choose. And I know we have some gluten-free people here, so I wanted to have an option for a gluten-free sauce. I'm going to be using some ketchup in this. And have you guys seen how much sugar is in ketchup? It's ridiculous. 1/3 of it is sugar. I don't know about you, but I'd rather eat a cookie. If I'm going to eat sugar, it's going to be something tasty. Okay. So I thought, well, I love my Heinz. Is it going to be as good as Heinz? I tried this Primal Kitchen brand and I really like it. They have original unsweetened and they have a spicy one as well. So today I'm using the non-spicy one for you guys. And I bought this at Publix. You can get it at Thrive Market as well. And I think it's absolutely delicious. So I'm going to be using that in it. And we're going to be using some honey. And here's the honey that I'm using today. And this is a red Thai curry paste. Now, when I first made this recipe, we were doing virtual classes here because it was COVID. And you could not find this anywhere on the shelves. I was freaking out. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I went to 10 different grocery stores to find it. Now they have plenty. So no worries. Okay. But this can be pretty spicy. So you want to adjust it to the spice, but it really gives it a nice kick. I absolutely love it. And also it calls for scallions. I wanted to show you how I store my scallions or green onions. I like to put it in a jar of water because when you put the nubs in water, it can have some regrowth and you can have another sprout and make it last a little bit longer. You just want to make sure that the water, you clean it out if it gets cloudy or gets stinky. I cut this yesterday and you could already see it sprouting. So that's pretty amazing. So
you can also go take that and put that in your yard.
Absolutely.
Start growing it. So
Absolutely. Yes. And so this calls for 8 scallions minced. I already pre-minced some of them, and I could have used my knife, but I like these little herb scissors. These are awesome. And I'll cut over here so you can see, but you just take these and it's like perfect. So easy. So I have this on my Amazon store link. I have a link so that you can get an email from me after this class and get all the resources that we talked about. I also have an ebook with some recipes and talking about women's health and menopause that will be included in it as well with the recording. The center is going to be sending you the recording as well, but I'll be including it in my email to you too. So I just want to show you this cool gadget. I'm really big onto kitchen gadgets and saving time in the kitchen. So this is definitely a must-have for me. And all right, so I'm going to continue adding in the ingredients. I want to make sure I didn't forget anything. Ketchup goes next. And then I'm going to add the paste. Any questions so far?
Do you have any questions? Okay. Allison picked this particular salad that is made with cauliflower. And you guys probably have heard about cruciferous vegetables, right? And how good they are for us. What are some cruciferous vegetables that you like? Broccoli, that's a good one, right? Brussels sprouts, love those.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, Brussels sprouts. Yeah, there's a lot of them that I think I actually had to bring a list because I always forget some of them. There's so many that are actually cruciferous that we sort of forget about because they're not sort of the ones that we think of when we think of the cruciferous vegetable. They can look a little bit different. Like arugula is a cruciferous vegetable. And actually, the reason that these are all named cruciferous and they're in a cruciferous family is because the flower shape for all of them is a four petal flower. So this came from my arugula plant that I have at home. And you can see there's 4 petals to that. And it is, and it looks like a cross shape, right? So there's 4 petals and they're directly across from each other. So that's the crucifer. Now this is some from a broccoli that I have, a sprouting broccoli plant that I have. And we can see too that there's 4 petals on there also, right? They're little yellow ones. They're across from each other. So that's why they're called crucifers. So when they go into flower, they're going to have these beautiful flowers on them too, and then they can pollinate our garden. So that's great. But yeah, some of the other ones to think about. So arugula, bok choy, we said broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbages are in that family, cauliflower, of course, collard greens, kale. Kale, I think is, it's one of the top foods, right? Kale for our health. Kale, it's a green. It's got all the benefits of a green and it has all the benefits of a cruciferous vegetable. It's just really awesome. Does everybody like kale? Everybody a fan of kale? So.
Have you ever tried massaging it first?
Yeah, massaging it, or have you tried the dinosaur? It's called dinosaur kale or lacinato kale. We probably don't have any of that just sitting around here.
No, I wish.
But they're long, dark leaves and they kind of look a little bit bubbly. You'll see it. Usually it's marked as dinosaur kale, but it could also be lacinato kale. But it's a lot more tender. And so it doesn't have that really fibrous kind of thing that I think some people find difficult to deal with, because the kind of the thicker one, like the curly kale, it's great for soup. So you have to break it down kind of, because unless you really like to chew. But the other type is really great. And yeah, Allison's right. If you take some of those kales that are a little tougher and you massage them with a little salt and olive oil ahead of time, they start to soften up and break down a little bit. And so they're less fibrous. So it's a way you can get more of it in if you're going to make a salad or do something fresh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you kind of.
Yeah, it breaks up the fibers and makes it less bitter and makes it also have a beautiful green color and makes it more vibrant looking. And as we were talking about the different types of kale, one of my favorite places to buy my produce when I'm down here is Freshfield Farms. Have you guys ever heard of that place? It's off of Michigan, and it's a huge indoor farmers market. So I've seen all the different varieties of kale there. So sometimes when you go to Publix, you might not see a lot of that variety, but this has a lot of produce, some from local farmers, which is great. I always am a big fan of local farmers markets, and we have a lot of great ones all over Central Florida for you to check out as well.
And is that open like a store would be? Is it open like whatever
every
for the
day?
whole day?
Yeah.
Every day, all day.
Every day.
Well, that's
yeah.
good to know about.
It's great. I love it. Okay, so I just had these in for 10 minutes. I'm turning it over and I'm putting the olive oil spray on it because I want it to get a little bit more crispy. Because it's a bean base, it's more soft compared to a burger. So I'm just trying to make it more golden. And I'm going to put it in for 10 more minutes.
As you guys are doing that, I've got a couple questions from the people at home. So Allison, for the cauliflower salad, somebody doesn't have Thai red curry paste, but wondered about using, I always mess this, gochujang? Gochujang sauce instead. Have you ever tried it?
I haven't tried it, but I have some of that at home, which I will try it. But you let me know.
I think you
try it.
I think the difference would be that it has garlic. That sauce has garlic in it, and this does not have garlic in it. So you'd get some garlic flavor too, but what could be wrong with that?
Right.
Yeah, right? Try it.
And
yeah,
then,
you're just going to do it to taste so that you get the amount of heat that you need.
This question is for you, Dr. Laura. When you talked about, putting the rice in the freezer and doing single servings, we're all trying to use less waste. And someone was wondering if you had any ideas for, rather than using plastic or Ziploc, is there any way to store that isn't so single-use plastic? Or?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of, you guys will see that there's a lot of, I don't know what you were going to say, Allison, but there's a lot of multi-use bags out there. Like they're made of silicone bags that have like a zipper on them, and you can just keep reusing them. I actually
bring
brought
one with you today. I was just looking for it.
I brought little flowers in it. Yeah, let me show this one. There's a lot of brands making these now. I think it's in here. Yeah, this is one. And they come in a lot of sizes. So, that's an option for sure. And the other thing that I do too is if I get, so this is what they look like. And it has a Ziploc. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but you have to just line it up in the middle and then go out to the sides, and then it will close.
And they have different sizes, definitely.
Yeah, they have lots of
big
different
ones.
sizes.
They even sell those at CVS. I was shocked when I was like, what is that doing here?
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
But they sell them at CVS too.
Yeah, Target has them, and yeah, you can find them in a lot of places. So that's an idea for something like that. Or just, if you use something like a Ziploc for something like that, if you're using a plant product in that bag and it's not like super saucy and whatever, I just keep rinsing and washing them and reusing them over and over and over again until they finally break down. So yeah, I do appreciate that question though. So we want to find ways to not.
Yeah. And like you said, freezing it on a cookie sheet and scoring it, you could put it technically in one big bag.
That's what I do. I put them in throw them into one giant bag.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, exactly. So you don't have to be using a lot of little bags. Right.
Uh-huh.
And I put them in the oven and then pop them out on a cookie sheet and freeze them and throw them in my shake.
Nice.
Oh, I love that.
I love that.
That's a great idea.
I love using a cookie sheet to put like soups and stews in it, freeze it. I've even made like leftover. My mom makes this amazing cheesy casserole, but I'm the only one in the house that eats it except for my mom and dad who are visiting. So I freeze it in the cookie sheet and I just can pop it out after when I want one serving for me. So it's perfect. Okay.
And I know Allison knows this. I was going to show the microplane when we talked about the garlic and ginger. Just as a show, because some people are saying
you could use this to do your ginger, or you could do like a box grater, or you could use a food processor. So there's a lot of different things that you could do when you're doing your ginger. And this has the cauliflower in it. We put our sauce in. I'm not putting all the sauce in because I want to make sure you guys are okay with the temperature before I do that. Does anyone in here not like cilantro? I love cilantro. Okay. Sometimes people taste cilantro and they have a soapy taste to it. And that's actually a genetic thing. It's in your DNA. So, and it's real. I can understand it because I absolutely love cilantro, but I wanted to make a special portion for you if you didn't like it. And then anybody have any peanut allergies? Nope. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to be adding some cilantro to this. And I use my handy dandy scissors to make it easier on me. And with this, I like to put my cilantro in a jar of water to make it last longer and sit on the countertop. I could also put it in the fridge. And for this, I didn't cut the stems. If I were putting this like into a sauce, I could like in a blender or a Cuisinart, I might put the stems in just for sake of time. But since I didn't want you biting into some stems and stuff, but the stems are actually very flavorful and not bad to eat. It's just a matter of mouthfeel that I was going for. And then got our
that looks beautiful.
And then I'm going to put some lime. I like using a juice or a citrus reamer, and you put the flat side down and it kind of makes it go inside out so you get the most juice out. If you don't have one of these, you can just use your hands. That's totally fine. But like I said, I'm the queen of kitchen gadgets. And I'm like, but it's work, honey. I could totally need this purchase. So I'm just going to put some.
Yeah, and of all the gadgets to get, that one you're going to love.
Yeah.
If you don't have one of those,
and it works on your hand grip strength, which we all need to do as we get older. Okay. My dad in the car growing up, he would have that thing that you would do. So this is the female version, the chef's version, I should say.
Exactly. So yeah, and this is a great way to keep, we were talking about this recently at a class we had, and for your fresh herbs, this is a great way to keep them is on your countertop in a glass, treat them like it's a flower, like it's flowers, and put it in a small amount of water.
Yeah.
And just, you have to keep changing it out if it starts to get cloudy, like she said, but it lasts so much longer because there's air circulation. You're not going to have them start to get all, yucky inside in the center.
Right.
So that is a really great way to do the herbs.
Right. And, or you could just plant them in your yard and have it in your yard. Whenever I go to the grocery store, I try to buy it in the pot so that I can have it longer and not go bad. So that's an option. I do have a tower garden at my house. It's a hydroponic tower garden, and they just put a bunch of them out back. Have you seen those yet? They're amazing. So I will often grab some. I have this growing in my tower garden. I have tomatoes right now, some kale. So that's an option. All right. So this salad is done and looking beautiful.
And I'll help pass it around. While I do that, somebody asked about the health benefits of peanuts in a jar. Is it, are there any differences in the health benefits? Is it, any thoughts? Is it better to get?
I think it just depends on what they've added to it and all that, but
yeah, this one has
like the dry roasted.
This is peanuts, and that's it, peanuts. So that is totally fine. The least ingredients, the better. So having just peanuts, I think that's awesome. Okay, and then let me check on. No, you can start passing that out. And then what I want to do too is talk about the toppings, because the burgers are all about the toppings, people. Okay. So I really want you to take advantage of the toppings. We've got 2 choices for you for the outside, the buns that we talked about. We have the romaine lettuce if you don't want gluten or you're avoiding carbs for some reason. And carbs are not the villain. Okay. We need carbohydrates for our brain, and you actually want to have the carbohydrates earlier in the day so your body can utilize them. But if you have a gluten intolerance, that has gluten in it. And then these are garlic dill pickles, and they're fermented. So that's another gut healthy ingredient, fermented food. So I chose the fermented. This you can find in the where you find the cheeses and the processed meats and stuff in Publix on the top shelf. I chopped it up for you so it's easier to keep on your bun.
Yeah, that's a good point. If we're going to be trying to get more fermented foods in our diet, so we think about things like pickles, and there are things like pickled red onions and pickled garlic and there's all kinds of pickled things, kimchi and all these things. We want to get them. We want it to actually be a fermented food, right? That's what's good for us. Most of the pickled foods nowadays, they just put vinegar on the food, right? And those are the ones we're going to find on the grocery shelf, just in the, at room temperature. But these are all going to be found in the refrigerated section. And then if you look at the ingredients, it shouldn't say that it's vinegar. Vinegar shouldn't be an ingredient because we make our own vinegar by the fermentation process. So the vinegar should not be an ingredient in there. And we want to find these in the cold section. It could be in the produce section. It could be over by the dairy. It depends what it is and how your store does it, but make sure that it's cold, and then just check and make sure there is vinegar in there as the ingredient.
And I did take some onions and put them in vinegar with some. They're really delicious. And it's got, I pickled some onions with vinegar last night. And what I did was I put it boiling water over it to soften it up, and did a mixture of the vinegar with salt and some sugar, a little bit of sugar. I'll put the recipe in the email following, but I love some good pickled onions. And I wanted to showcase this amazing jar. It's so fancy, right? I've got like paper on it, but I want to show you, don't throw away the jars after you use up your mayonnaise or sauces and things like that, because you can reuse it for other things and not waste money buying the glass jars in the store. So there we go.
Oh, is that what the one in the produce section? Like the tofu and all that stuff. Oh, yeah. I've seen it. It's good. Oh, okay.
I'm gonna start passing out the buns.
The comment came: is it going to say fermented on it? Yes, it should say fermented on it, because they want you to know that, right? That's the reason you're buying it. So if it is fermented, it should say, and it's not in big letters on here.
It's on the lid.
It is on here.
It's on the
It does say lightly
Here.
fermented.
lightly fermented.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
it
looked
should-
for
it should tell you that.
everywhere for fermented pickles because I was trying to include more fermented food into my diet. I'm not a huge fan of kimchi, but I love pickles. So I found that as a good alternative. All right. I'm passing around the buns and stuff so that you could start dressing your burger because it takes a little bit of time, especially with all the extra toppings that I'm including. There. And I've got some tomatoes for you. I wanted to show you the mayonnaise that I like. I like Primal Kitchen mayonnaise because it's made with avocado oil. And I love this brand of salad dressing as well because they do use avocado oil. And if you go down your grocery aisle, you'll be like, oh my gosh, look at all these amazing salad dressings, but a lot of them are using like canola oil or inflammatory oils. So you want to look for ones that have avocado oil or olive oil, and it's very hard to find. Even the Panera one, like I was like, Panera is getting so expensive. And so I wanted to make it at home and they're using canola oil in it. So I was disappointed. But this brand I love for their salad dressings, their ketchups, and their mayonnaise. So you get to try that, and Old Dijon mustard. So there you go. Yeah, so if you wanted the toppings, take them and then pass them around.
And while you're prepping the burgers, we do have a question from home from Nicole. She has a question of any suggestions for gadgets that can assist people with limited hand and upper body strength due to disability.
Ooh, that would be a perfect question for occupational therapy. I have some friends with OT, and I know there's some gadgets. I just don't know off the top of my head. If you want to put my email address in the chat, they have them email me and I will research it for them. But my mom had broke both of her wrists years ago one time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a nightmare. And so I had to look for different gadgets that were helpful for her to function. And there are some out there. I just don't know off the top of my head, but I'm happy to research them for you and email you back that information. Okay, so let me check in these burgers.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what you think about that one. I haven't tried it. I'm looking forward to trying that one too, to see what that's like. So yeah, hopefully it'll be okay. I wonder what the difference is there.
So what were you saying? Hurt your stomach?
Mayonnaise sometimes.
Huh. Can you eat eggs? Can you eat eggs? Okay. Oh, interesting.
Odd. Yeah, sometimes we don't know why our body doesn't like something, especially if there's a lot of ingredients in there. It's hard to get to the bottom of what it is that's bothering us.
I might.
Yeah.
I need your help.
Oh. Yeah, it does look like kind of the rasp you'd use. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a great tool. You can zest. You know, when you're using citrus, you can add a lot of flavor to anything by anytime you're going to add lemon, add a little bit of the zest from the outside, right? The dark colored part on the outside, the yellow part, the green part. You start to get into the white pith part. It's really good for you, but it's very bitter. So yeah, if you grate a little bit of that before you juice it, you've got extra flavor. Oh, sure. Clean spoon.
I'll grab it. It's under the microwave.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Does anybody need anything else?
I have another one too if we need. And I was going to bring up the topic of so we talked about. Have you guys heard about phytonutrients in food, plant nutrients? Phyto is the root of the word that means plant, right? And phytonutrients only found in plants, obviously, because it's plant nutrients. But a way to know whether something has phytonutrients is sometimes to look at the color. The color can give us the indication of the phytonutrients that are in there because all the different colors are actually made by different plant nutrients. So if you had say like a beet, the red that's in the beets comes from betalain, and that's a very great phytonutrient that actually fights against high blood pressure. And so all the different colors in foods indicate a lot of different nutrients in foods. So when we talked about getting a variety of foods in our diet, one thing we want to do is get a variety of colors in our diet too. So they call that eating the rainbow. That means you're getting anti-cancer nutrients, anti-inflammatory nutrients, diabetes nutrients, anti-obesity nutrients. So we can get a full range of nutrients if we get a lot of different colors in our diet. So what about cauliflower though? Cauliflower doesn't really have a lot of color, right? It's white. So should that sort of go against the rule? Should we think that maybe cauliflower isn't that good for us? Because in general, we're trying to get really colorful foods in our diet. Again, that means more phytonutrients. It turns out cauliflower is the exception. Cauliflower and actually white mushrooms are the exception. Onions too.
Yeah.
Onions, yellow onions and red onions are better than white onions, but in general, you want to get the most colorful food you can get. But cauliflower is an exception. Mushrooms are an exception. And actually, it turns out that white peaches and nectarines are also an exception, surprisingly to me, because they're so sweet. I thought, that's nothing but sugar in those things, but they're good for you. So enjoy. Ooh.
I'm just going to put it up under the good camera here.
So pretty.
With cauliflower salad and the red onions and
So pretty. Oh, can I get a picture of that? Because that looks gorgeous. I want to take it this and you get in it with me so we could take a picture together. This looks so awesome.
Pretty.
Perfect. You did a perfect job plating this. So amazing.
Beautiful.
So what do you think?
Is everybody enjoying it?
Do you think you could, how many of you here are vegetarian or vegan? Okay. So do you think this is something that you could swap out for those that you do eat meat? Do you think this is something you could swap out? Yeah.
I eat green beans. That's the only bean I eat.
Really?
When I walked in, I saw all these beans.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
Good to hear.
And that's why I love these classes, because you probably wouldn't make this at home.
Never.
Yeah. And so you're being exposed to different ingredients and things in a different way. So it changes your attitude about those dishes.
I was that way about cauliflower.
Oh, you're probably like, oh no.
And you're liking that.
Why did I sign up for this?
The flavor.
And that goes back to the 30 different plant-based sources per week. So in the burger, how many plants do you think we had? Anyone want to guess? Girl, you were cheating. Did you read my paper? That's awesome. And how about in the cauliflower salad? How many? Ten, 6, or 12, because all the different spices and herbs and things like that count towards it. So 15 plus 12, we're already almost at our 30 for the week, and we haven't even touched dessert yet. So let's look at dessert. While you eat, I'm just going to be getting my station set up. So just enjoy eating, ask questions.
Yeah, if you have any questions, please let me or Allison know.
Here we go. Somebody asked from home, have you ever made your own mayonnaise? Since we were talking about mayo in here. Either of you ever try that? Dr. Laura, you have?
I have. Yeah, I've made plant-based mayonnaise before.
Tell us how you did it.
There's a great recipe. America's Test Kitchen has a really, really good plant-based mayo recipe. It was delicious, really light and really good. Oh, did we do? I think instead of the egg was aquafaba that we talked about was the juice from the chickpeas. Instead of egg, but otherwise it has similar ingredients. It's got, you can put whatever oil you want. I used olive oil, and then it has some lemon juice and the aquafaba and salt and pepper. I mean, I think that may be about it. was really easy. And you do it in a blender so that it incorporates like,
I know I've also used flaxseed before in place of an egg. You could do
Yeah.
like a
Mhm.
flaxseed egg. Like when I've run out of
Yes.
eggs, I've done that for baking. But
Yes.
yeah, I forget the ratio off the top of my head, but you mix it.
It's
same thing.
usually 1-to-1, but on the bag, it'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you probably could do that too. I think this one, just to make the color be consistent with the mayo we're
course.
used to, they use the aquafaba because otherwise you'd have a little bit of a
This was going in a
Brown.
cake, so I didn't care as much.
Yeah.
what?
This was going in a cake, so I didn't care as much.
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
that's a great substitute. And flaxseed is one of the superfoods. So the more flaxseed we can get in our diet, the better. I think it was it Gandhi who said, where flax goes, health follows. So flaxseed is really one of the top foods for our health.
So that's kind of a
Similarly
motivator to use it in your baked goods so
Yeah.
that because you're getting omega-3 fatty acids in there and other health benefits and having a plant-based source.
And then
So,
cake is a health food. So,
yeah,
you know.
totally. Makes
You
it totally
and
healthy.
even more than just the flax egg, you could put an extra tablespoon or two of flaxseed, ground flaxseed in almost
I put them in my
anything.
I put them in my smoothies every
Yeah.
time I make one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in a smoothie. That's a great thing to do. That's a great thing to do. Adds a ton of nutrition.
And the avocados, you could squeeze them and feel that they're ripe. But another thing that you could do is by peeling off the stem and seeing what color it is. It's bright green in there. So I know that that's going to be a pretty avocado when I open it up. And
And if it turns, would it be like turn brown at the top there when it's like not good
i-
anymore?
if it
Or what
if,
would
if
be-
it's
what would
not
it look
quite
like?
ready, it wouldn't be bright green.
Oh, if it's not ready, it's not ready. It would like
Yeah.
white or something.
It would be more of a darker color.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd never heard
Allison, as
that.
you get started with this, someone has a question already about the cocoa. Is cocoa powder generally dairy free or is it brand specific? Do you know?
Let me look. May contain nuts, wheat, soy, milk, and egg in this one. And in this one, oh boy, you're
But I
testing
think
my
that's-
eyeballs.
But I think that's just the way it's processed because it really, the only ingredient is cocoa
Yeah,
with alkali to make it a little less
Bitter.
acidic. Yeah.
yeah.
And
And this only has cocoa in it. So
yeah.
I think what you put with it is what makes it have the dairy go with it. And in this recipe, I'm going to be using 2 different types of cocoa, just because I wanted to introduce you to the 2 different types. We're going to be using our standard one that maybe you have on your shelf at home. And this is the Dutch one. So the Dutch one has been in an alkaline wash to make it less bitter. And you could look at the colors. So you could see this is the regular one. Here, I'll show this. This is the regular one, and this is the Dutch one. So I'm doing half and half just to give you a new experience to try something different. And I will show you what the packaging looks like for you at home. Here you go. If I turn around, I don't know how you're looking there. All right.
We've had a lot of, but that doesn't count as 2 different plant foods, just so you know.
Right. It doesn't. No.
Just kidding.
It's a bean.
Yeah. Oh, chocolate. Oh, chocolate's good for us. It is very
Yes.
good for us. So yeah, have no fear. Yeah, you should definitely dive in there.
And
Yeah.
we are making this healthier by using avocado as our healthy base and healthy fat to this recipe. So it's going to make it creamy and delicious. And what I'm doing is I'm cutting the avocado around the pit and then opening it up. Look how pretty that is.
Those are
So, like,
perfect.
I
Beautiful.
don't know if we have, oh, you can see me over here. Perfect. Awesome. We do have a composting bowl over here. They have a service locally that comes and helps them compost their waste. And I don't know all the details about it, but they pick up the composting waste and you could either get soil back for your own garden at your home, or you could donate it to
Do you
someone.
want me to jump in? Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
I was recording Allison for her. I was doing a lot at once. Sorry. Yeah, we actually here at the Center for Health and Wellbeing are partnered with O-Town Composting. So we have some great big bins in the back. So we at Nourish Coffee Bar and Kitchen compost all of our food scraps, and we do it here in the cooking classes as well. And it's a really great program. I think I don't have the latest numbers off the top of my head, but in the last 3 months of the year, last year, we were already diverting 2,000 pounds of food waste from the landfill just in that time period.
That's
so
amazing.
And it's a really great, there's a lot of different options when you partner with O-Town. You can either, as Allison was just saying, donate it towards them and they'll use it around town. I just saw in my neighborhood in College Park, a whole front yard was O-Town composting in the front of it. Or you can get back a bag of soil of a year. My edible education friends that are here visiting might know more about it than I do, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. But
their own.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
We have the expert composter over here in our gallery.
Excellent. But yeah, it's a really, it's back to the conversation we had earlier, just finding ways to eliminate all of our footprints as much as possible in small, meaningful ways.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
And can you see what I'm doing over here? What I'm doing is I'm taking the half of the avocado and I just take a spoon and scoop it out. I could take this if I wanted to and slice it up and put it on my burger, on my salad, or for this purpose, I'm just putting it in the blender. And I'm going to wash my hands because I got all avocados all over them.
Okay, so what is making this a healthy dessert? Because avocado has a lot of fat in it, right? Avocado is a very high fat food. What's making this a healthy dessert? It's a healthy fat, right? Right. It's a healthy fat. It's the fat in an avocado is the same. It has the majority of the fat is monounsaturated fatty acid, which is the same as in olive oil. So it's a really, really healthy fat for us. We know it's great for our heart and for fighting disease and things like that. So that's really great. So, but how is that different than, say, you were making a recipe and you're going to use straight olive oil in it or straight avocado oil in it? It's got a healthy fat. The great news about this, using an avocado like this, is that we're using a whole food, right? We're getting all the elements of that food, of that whole food in this dessert. So there's fiber in there. Would you believe that avocado is one of the highest fiber foods out there?
I know.
It is one of the highest fiber foods. When you look at the list of high fiber foods, avocado is almost always right at the top. It's got a lot of soluble fiber. That's the one that fights heart disease, right? It helps bind our cholesterol and take it out of our body. So it has a lot of fiber. That's terrific. It has phytonutrients in there, right? We talked about. So this is a whole food product. And what happens if say she's going to blend this up, right? So there's fiber in there, but does that destroy the fiber then if we're going to make it smooth, make this whole thing smooth? It actually doesn't. The fiber's still in there and it's fairly unaffected. I mean, it will get broken down maybe a little bit, but as far as our microbiome, our bacteria in our gut are concerned, they don't care about that a little bit amount.
And it's all staying in there. Like when people juice, they're getting rid of all the fiber and it's going into a little bin on the side. So
right.
It's better if you're going to blend or juice something, you want to make sure you get it all into your end product that you're consuming.
Right. Much better to have a smoothie than a juiced product, right? You want to keep the fiber in there. The fiber is so important. So yeah, this is a really healthy fat within a dessert that also has a bunch of fiber in it and a whole bunch of other nutrients in it. So it's really, really great.
And in this dish, I'm using maple syrup as the sweetener. And let's see if I have it. I think it's over here. It's not over there. All right. I use maple syrup and as a sweetener because it has nutrients in it as well, instead of just using like table sugar or white sugar. So the maple syrup is going to be our sweetener of choice. I've added some vanilla extracts, a little bit of salt, and it calls for 6 to 8 tablespoons for milk of choice. I'm using unsweetened almond milk. And I'm starting with a 1/4 cup, which is 4 tablespoons, and then I'm going to increase it as I see fit.
Oh, agave syrup instead? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and I have a recipe on my website. I know you guys are going to get a link to that too. That is a mousse like this, but it's made, if people want to get more soy in their diet, it is absolutely delicious and it's made with silken tofu. And you would never know that that's the ingredient that's in there. It's instead of the avocado. It's so good.
I'm going to make it loud. Sorry.
Look at that, how beautiful.
I'm going to add some more
brownie batter.
Yeah. It needs more water. So now I'm at 6 tablespoons of milk. Now I'm at 6 tablespoons of milk. Let's see how this goes. I might need to scoop it down a little bit. And it looks like I probably will add the additional 2 tablespoons of almond milk to this because it's still, you could use soy milk. Yep.
Yeah.
Milk of choice.
Exactly.
And then, all right.
Yeah, really whatever plant milk you like. But yeah, if you're trying to get more soy in your diet, some soy milk would be great. I noticed it's harder to find these days. There's so many plant milks out there. I was looking at the store and there was one at the Publix I was at.
Oh, really?
One soy milk. That's all.
Wow.
There's
so many. There's a ton of different milks. It's ridiculous.
I know there's so many plant milks. It's great to see though. It's great to see. But yet a lot of choices out there. And when you're looking at your plant milks, you also similarly, you kind of want what to find one that doesn't have, a million ingredients. This one I noticed has quite a few that I get the same one. I get the one that's from oat from Kirkland brand. So that's from Costco, but it does have a lot of things, but some of these they're adding in vitamins and stuff too. They're trying to emulate what we do with our dairy milks by adding vitamin D and vitamin A and things like that into it.
Yeah. Whenever you see something's enriched, that means they're adding in extra vitamins and nutrients, probably because like with our whole grains, that means they've stripped it out and then they're enriching it. So you think it sounds like it's great. It's enriched, but they wiped out some of the nutrients that should have been there. All right. I'm going to make it loud. Sorry.
Does what? No, it doesn't. That's a good point. It does not. You'll find it in the store. It's not in the refrigerated section. So that's really handy because I always run out. I only have so much room in my fridge and I ran out, but there you get a whole case of it and you can sit there. How much what? I'm going to bring it over. Did you say phosphorus? Oh, okay. Let me see it. Does it tell you? Is that always included?
Okay.
So it's not one that's on here.
This
Yeah, it
looks
doesn't say
delicious.
It does. It does. I would imagine there was a reason. this
Okay.
wasn't necessarily a
So when
phosphorus
you're
thing,
cooking at home,
but
I encourage you to taste
just
along the
like
way and make sure that you don't need to add anything to it.
I would
So
assume that
I'm
maybe
going to taste it.
doesn't- Okay.
It's pretty darn good. And I'm going to wash my hands and then we're going to serve
So
this
great.
with
Right,
some
plant milk.
fruit. You can be fancy and put them on
favorite's oat.
skewers if
I
you have a
think
party.
oat is the easiest.
I'm just doing a
I'm
fruit
sorry.
salad that you could put on your plate and dip the mousse, dip it in the mousse. But it has a really pretty presentation if you take some little skewers and put your fruit on there. And I challenge you when you're having a party to not tell anyone what the mousse is made of and see what they think.
I say the same one with the tofu one. Nobody would ever know. I don't tell
Mhm.
people in there. I go, oh, this is so good.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Surprise.
absolutely. You don't need to say anything.
But then when like my kids now know better, they're like, what is in this? Because I've tricked them with brownies made with black beans and they're like, something's up. All right.
That's another great recipe, black bean brownies. You
Yes.
put black beans in there. You don't know they're in there.
Do you
Keeps them
guys
really
want
moist.
a different plate or can you move? Okay.
Here, why don't I let him clear some of these out? How's that? Yeah, I'm gonna take that.
Okay.
Thank you. You gonna keep that? Okay, all right. You want me to take your plate? Is everybody? Are you still going? They're gonna bring you another plate for the dessert if you'd like. Either way, she said she could bring you a new fork too if you want, but
Did I hear someone say they'd never eaten a beet in their life?
okay,
Or-
sure.
Oh, make sure you drink a lot of water. Okay. Because beans have a lot of fiber in it, which is a very good thing. But if you were to just automatically change your diet up and you're eating a lot more fiber than you're typically used to, you might have some belly pain. So you want to, when you're increasing the amount of fiber, you want to kind of go slow and let your body adjust to it. And you always want to make sure you're getting enough water as well. And we need at least 21 to 25 grams of fiber in our diet as women, 25 for 50 and under and 21 for 50 and over. And men need like 38 grams. And when you think about an apple, it has about 2 grams of fiber in it. So you have to kind of be intentional about meeting that fiber goal. And fiber is going to help you feel satisfied and full longer. It's going to help stabilize your blood pressure or blood sugars and helps with cholesterol. There's so many health benefits to incorporating more fiber into your diet. And this meal has a lot of fiber sources in it, which is great. Okay. I'm going to lick the spoon later after you leave.
I guess just.
Oh, yeah. Yum. And then would you roll them in anything? Ooh, yum. Can you take a picture of it? Oh. Okay.
Yeah. No, it is.
I've done it. I've rolled it in hemp seeds. So to add, oh, thank you. To add additional healthy fats to it. It's very good. Mm-hmm. Very tasty.
Let me see. Wow, it's so pretty.
I think it just.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yum. I took a sample of it. It's pretty. Do you want to lick this?
Okay, sure.
It's pretty good.
That's awesome. That's very good. Thank you.
And I love adding berries because they're fiber filled fruit and they're in season now. Does anyone go to the Plant City festivals? Did you stop and get any of the strawberries? Their strawberries are so flavorful. So if you ever buy there again, I encourage you to just buy a flat, and then you could freeze them if you don't eat them fast enough. They're so delicious. And right now, today, BOGO strawberries at Publix. But that sale's done today. So if you want it, and I saw the Honey Crisp apples are BOGO as well. So go get those. Those are tasty. So.
And blueberry season's just around the corner,
Yes,
right?
and
so
we have some you pick blueberries locally. Yeah, I live over in the west side, so I've been to the one over like in Mineola. Actually, our friends own it, and that's always fun. And then there's another one in Ocoee that's near my house that I've gone to.
I've been to the one at Southern Hill Farm.
Oh, that place is awesome. Southern, yes, yeah, and beautiful sunflowers. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dahlias, yeah.
Nice. So what do you think? Were you surprised about the menu when you walked in and then pleasantly surprised? You like the chocolate? But it's a healthy fat and it's good for you.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Any questions? It's online, and I'll send you information in my email. I'll tell you what all will be in my email. But Thrive Market, I was so hesitant to do because it's a subscription. It's like Sam's or Costco. You pay a membership fee, but I found that it had a lot of the ingredients that I really like that are with less fillers and extra additives and stuff, like the Primal Kitchen stuff. And yes, they have this at Publix, but they don't have all the different flavors. So I'm like, I'm going to try it, and I'm totally canceling it within the first 30 days because I don't need another subscription. But I found it was cheaper than what I was finding at Publix. So I love it. And it delivers to your house. And I constantly am getting texts like, if you place your order today, we're going to give you $28 worth of something, you know. So I've gotten 2 full-size Primal Kitchen jars. One was a honey mustard salad dressing, which was absolutely delicious, and a full-size mayo, chipotle lime mayo. Like that's a huge value, free just for placing an order. And they ship free if you spend $45. So if you plan it out right, it's good. And it has all your staples. It also has meat, wine, shampoo, soaps. It's all like non-toxic stuff. So it's good stuff. So in the email, I'm going to have a link to my Amazon store so you can see my favorite kitchen gadgets, some that I use here, some that I haven't used today. And then I have an ebook about nutrition and menopause. I'll include some recipes. You'll be added to my Tasty Tuesday email series where you get a recipe in your inbox every Tuesday. And then Thrive Market, I'll put the pickled onion recipe in there. And I think I have notes at home of what I'm going to include. So it'll be a surprise. Yes, I'm going to give you a piece of paper to write on it for our local people.
Are you doing for emails?
Yes, so let's pass both.
If you want to use
Do
this, then we
one.
can take a photo of it.
Perfect.
And share it.
Yes,
You want to do that?
that would be better.
And I have, if you're interested to kind of keep the information going, I have a whole website on just health mostly through nutrition, but through lifestyle. And I do a newsletter monthly, and that's always on whatever is a current sort of topic, maybe with the current research that's going on about what we can do to better our health. So kind of sorting through all that crazy stuff that's out there and figuring out what do we really need to know and how do we apply this to our life to stay healthier. So that newsletter comes out once a month. And if you sign up today, I'll get the last month's one out to you too within the next couple of days, so that you'll have that. And then there's just a lot of other resources there. Like I said, I have a lot of recipes too. So check that out. That's always fun.
Mm-hmm. And you have a class coming up too, right?
We have a class here on the 20 something. And it's going to be one of my favorite topics of all time. It's how to health up any meal. So take any meal, even if you're bringing home, takeout food. How am I going to health this up a little bit? Because I try to look at all my meals that way. March 21st, 11 a.m. So another time to today.
And is that going to be just in person or going to be webinar? Okay.
Yeah, just in person. So yeah, for anything that you're doing, it's nice to kind of think I always do it even at the last minute. I'm thinking of it while I'm doing it, but the last minute, how can I just throw some more, nutrition into this?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of a way to just take any meal and make it a little bit more healthy. Because the little steps make a big difference.
Definitely. Yeah. Build upon each little step. I love that, especially for family members that maybe don't buy into what you're wanting to do. You can add in some things so that it's not totally changing their diet completely. They still get some of their favorite things, but you're just healthifying it.
Yeah, and we were talking about how it's a lot of times it's about the flavor, right? If you keep the flavor that you love and get some other of those healthy ingredients in there, it's actually pretty easy to do it because it's really the flavors that we are going for, right? For the most part, sometimes the textures too, but the flavor is big. So if we can keep those great flavors and just add some more healthy stuff, it can be really easy to make some changes.
Mm-hmm. Any questions?
I have information for that for sure. And there's lots of things that we know are good for brain health.
So brain health would be a topic you would want to write on the post survey so that we can come back and do a brain health talk.
Brain health would be a great one. So I think we all want that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all want to be able to remember where our keys are.
Yeah.
Or
yeah. Where you live.
All of those would be
yes.
good to know. So yeah, for sure. That's a great topic.
Any other topic ideas that you can think of? Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. One of the things to know is that they've been finding